Hi everyone. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's talk about you and your ego mind. You are not your ego mind. It's very important to realize that your ego mind is an artificial created part of your consciousness. It is you, the you who have ability for evolution, for exploring itself, for knowing itself, recognizing itself. It is your egoic mind, very limited with its abilities. It's artificial, created by yourself as some kind of um, replacement in your relationships, in your connection with outside world. It has been created in your childhood as protection mechanism, as protection tool against the world. Now, when we look at that from that point of view, you maybe can notice some very interesting things that happens in your relationships with your ego mind. Your ego mind is one that tell you almost permanently the stories that are here in your mind. It creates stories about himself for your own entertainment. It's existing because of these stories. When you not realize that you are not this egoic mind, that you're something much more bigger than that, that's much more advanced than that, you identify yourself with the stories that your egoic mind telling himself. you know when you identify yourself as that, you think the story that your egoic mind telling, it's your story. you know and that's point where problems are starting. you know okay, let's look at stories. The stories that your egoic mind telling about himself, they are the same stories. It's put in different outfit. It's different, give different interpretation, a different really outlook for that. But stories are the same. When you're not listening what your egoic mind are telling, you believe in these stories without even realized that what you are believing is completely illusion and completely lying. It's a fantasy world of your egoic mind. What's very important for your own evolution, that you learn to recognize the stories that your egoic mind telling yourself, and how you can do it just by listening, because no one listening really, because you take these old stories as in truth, and you create a false idea about who you are. When you go to listen to stories, magnificent things will be happening. What's very important that you go and just take sheet of paper, take a pencil, and go to sit in quiet place and ask yourself what kind of story your egoic mind telling you, for example, about the love. Well, it's kind of tape recorder here, because you're listening always to the same stories. And the stories, your stories about the love, they are the same. They will never change. When you believe that you're not good enough to be loved, because that is story what you believed as a child, this story you will living all your life long. And you go die with this story, because the story will never change. You will always find improval. Um, the story right. The story is completely right. You know, that is how minds works. That's this. They create on reinforcement mechanism. That what means. It means that you always in outside world will find recognition and proof that the story that you're believing are right. That you're always right. You know, you will attract the people they don't love you. You know, because if you believe that you're not good enough to be loved, that's what you always will experience. Okay, it's very necessary now in this point of evolution of humankind that people go to sit with it and listen a story about life that you mind talking about and telling you. Yeah. In all story, just write down without criticize that, without fight with it, without escape from that. Just go in a quiet place and write all the story that your mind telling you about love, what its beliefs about love, you know. The second thing what you can do is also ask your ego mind what kind of story it's telling himself actually, but you believe that it's you, that you go to live the story of your mind, artificial created part of your consciousness, you know. And because of the believing, you will not recognize that. But you need to sit for it. You need just take a time and look what kind of story it's telling you about, for example, the body, about your body. Because your body in your mind, they have very significant relationship with each other. Your body is actually in projection about your mind, what your mind believes about it. When you believe, for example, that your body are limited, it's not good enough, it's not beautiful, it's not smart enough, that you need to have different body that you have. That is a story. It's not who your body really is. It's what you see in a mirror, because that's because of the same mechanism of reinforcement. You will always in a mirror, in a physical reality, experience of what your mind tell you and what you believe it. That's how it works. That's why it's not so necessary that you write it down, because it's so it's limited, but it's not stupid. The egoic mind, it it does not want to be catched by your attention. It does not want you recognize the game that it play with itself and with you. You know, it does not want to be catched. It's very smart in the kind of. When you go to When you just go to think about it, it's not enough. You will not get all information. When you go to sit and write down, just write down and then read it, then you see it. Oh my God, it's really, I lived a lie. I live something what has nothing to do with um, what in reality is. Your body is a servant. It will always be here to serve you. Even your limited beliefs, your body served it. Your body say never no. Your body say always yes. If you want to see it as ugly thing, it will be. If you want to see it as beautiful, magnificent something, it will be, you know, because it's only projection of your mind, body, of your mental body, you know, of your egoic mind. It's a projection. Okay. What you also can do, you can look and see what kind of story your egoic might tell you about who you are, about your abilities, about your possibilities. Because what you believe you are, that's what you will manifest in this reality. When you believe that you are not smart enough, not good enough, not capable enough, that's what you will manifest, because you will never manifest magnificent you, who you really are, when you believe that you're not good enough. And that is story that your egoic mind telling yourself, because it's create in story. Your egoic mind, because it has been created as protection, it's always contains all negative beliefs that you heard, that you get from outside world, from authorities, and the first hand is your parents, you know, your narratives, your siblings, everything there. What you believe about yourself, about who you are, what they tell you, this your egoic mind, it contains limited beliefs of your parents, limited beliefs of your siblings, limited beliefs of society, where you came from, you know, where you are part of. It needs to be in agreement with the society. It needs to be in agreement with your surroundings, because it's looking for safety in the first place. And if it's not, if it's in contradiction with beliefs of surrounding, it get a problem. And your work mind say, no, no problem. I am exactly what you think that I am. Yeah. What parents put on you as a label, that's how egoic mind believe about himself. And then when you identify yourself as your egoic mind, that's what you believe about yourself. That is a story. When you put this story on a paper, when you look at it, then you separated the story from who you really are, from your true self, from pure consciousness who you are, from a big perspective about yourself. You see the egoic mind as a kind of appendix by your belief system, by your necessary part of third-dimensional game. Third-dimensional game you play through perception of your egoic mind. When you put yourself out of this perception, you're stepping actually out of the 3D game, you know. That's why it's so important to read stories, all stories, you know, all stories that your mind telling you about yourself and about your life, because your life is a projection of yourself. You cannot have magnificent life when you have low perception about yourself, because it's always matched. That is a law of the universe. It's always matched between you and your reality. Okay? Now, when it's done, it need be transformed. I cannot give you now tools how to transform it, because those of you who are in connection with own higher self knows how it works. It's from high perspective you can transform things in the low realms of existing. You need to raise your frequency and be connected with your higher self, and from perspective of higher self, you can transform everything in low frequencies and a field of 3D and a level of egoic mind. You can transform completely the story, but already knows that the story is not who you really are, can create this separation from, and when you train yourself to recognize it, you are immediately in separation. What you also can help and write down completely new story, from perception of your expanded consciousness, light being who you are, write completely different story, and see the story as your own, claim it, live it. When you begin to live it, the old story, because it's so limited, because it's so not really you, it is not any more in alignment with who you really are, it will disappear by itself. Is that so? No, you can try it, okay? You can try it. My experience that this need to be transformed, but you never know. You do it. If it's you can do it, I'm very curious about it. Just write, please comment about it, because I like to know. I like to know, really. Now, that is all what I wanted to address today. I hope this information will serve you, really. And do you have some questions? You can ask it. I will respond. I respond always. And be good and be loved by yourself. Bye bye.